When I was 5 years old, my family and I lived on a turnip farm. Because we were so poor, we often did things the old-fashioned way, such as fetching buckets of water. On one night, it was my turn to fetch the water, but it was late, and since I was only 5, I didn't want to go outside. After a moment of fussing, I grabbed the bucket, headed out the door, and went down past the barn to the stream. I filled the bucket and headed back toward the house, and then I stopped dead in my tracks. 5 feet in front of me on the path was a grotesque and giant hairy creature with the creepiest green eyes I had ever seen. I was terrified, and I screamed for my life, and I ran back to the house. When I got through the door and out of breath, my dad asked where the buckets of water were. I explained to him what had happened, but he didn't believe me. He told me to stop this foolishness and get the water, but I was too scared, and I refused to go unless he went with me. He went out on the porch with me and scoped out the area, and when my dad didn't see anything out of the ordinary, he made me get the buckets by myself. And as fast as my little legs could carry me, I headed back down past the barn into the stream, and I picked up the bucket where I had dropped it, and I filled it up again. When I ran back to the house, I spotted the creature again heading toward the barn. And I ran to my dad and I told him the monster was going toward the barn. But he told me not to worry about it, that the creature was probably just taking a bath. After my encounter, I was often teased about my experience with the green-eyed monster. Still today, people tease me about it. I work late nights in suburban Suffolk, Virginia. Tonight was creepier than usual. I had my hand on my pistol, and I rested on a bus stop bench not far from my house. A swig of water later, I grabbed my cane with my left hand, though I'm usually a righty, and I stood up for my journey home. I went the usual way, noting that it was quiet. It was deathly quiet. And I took a step away from the bus stop and saw something down the dark street. Someone's head was peeking around the corner of a darkened house. A lawn sign indicated the house was for sale. Well, I shook it off and made my way home. Just as I got back to my street, a huge figure stepped into my front yard. Still 2 homes away from my porch, I began shaking, though I did keep my cool. And I continued trekking home and watched it step toward me. As smoothly as possible, I unhooked the safety on my holster, ready to pull my hog iron and use it if needed. 3 suppressed shots whispered through the figure's head, spewing its contents all over the place. It fell to the ground, and as soon as my body landed, I started to shake uncontrollably. I was on my hands and knees, and my cousin rushed over to me. "Jack, you okay, man?" he asked. "Well, I will be. Why can't I breathe?" "You're going into shock," he said. Well, I snapped out of it, and I started to calm down. "Man, I'm glad I called you, Steve." "Me too, kid, me too." Later in my living room, Hook, Lewis, and Steve and I sat with cold beers that Hook had gotten earlier to celebrate another successful mission. "You feeling better now?" Lewis asked me, a reassuring hand on my knee. "Yep, this helps," I said, hoisting my glass bottle. "So you guys hunt them for a living? Why did you cut its head off? Is that proof of a kill?" "You got it," Steve said coolly. "Can't say much, but we do what we do, and we're dang good at it." "Well, I'm glad you're family. I'm glad you got good friends to have your back," I said. "You sure got that right," Steve said. 30 years ago, my ex-wife and I were avid prospectors. We lived in Phoenix, Arizona, and had some gold mining claims in the Bradshaw Mountains, which are 7,000 to 8,000 feet in elevation. We used to travel up to the claims almost every weekend, and we camped out in the camper shell on my truck. In winter, getting into the claims was difficult at best due to the heavy snow, and going up in the summers a real relief from the Arizona heat. My mining claim had the only year-round water in the area. There were often deer and coyotes and the occasional raccoon. On one of our trips, someone dumped what looked to be a pickup load of turkey carcasses on one of our claims. I believe someone was trying to lure in bobcats or mountain lions, both of which are known to be in the area. I haven't seen either out there, but those cats can be very elusive. It's a strange thing to see, but we went about our day and got set up as usual. That night we were asleep in the camper when we were woken up by a scream a quarter mile away. I couldn't tell what the animal was. It wasn't animal-like at all. I had never heard anything like this before or since. Now, I can't claim it's Bigfoot because I didn't see the creature with my own eyes, but it's the only thing that makes sense. I was raised in the Colorado Rockies, and I'm comfortable out in the hills, and I'm familiar with all types of wildlife and the sounds that they make. In the slim chance the scream I heard was from an animal, it was from no animal native to those mountains. Today, I just live right outside of Tucson. I still go out into the desert, but now I go out armed. But not because of the critters, it's because of the Mexican cartel human traffickers and drug runners. They are far more dangerous than any animal around here.